Well, it's around midnight, so you guys know when I'm up. Mr. Night Out here, working overnight all the time. So, today, March for Our Lives happened. Don't blame them, but the message itself is messed up. People say, I'm glad I have an F rating by the NRA. So you're glad to have a rating of an F for backing what our founding fathers put in writing. That what our founding fathers fought for. That's what you're glad for. Okay. Alright. I'll remember that. Because when the voting thing happens, remember, these little millennials think that they're outlive all these old conservatives. Well, guess what? There's young conservatives. Look it up. There's young conservatives. And you know what? We're looking at the thing. And what gets me is people are so concentrated on the AR-15 because that's the only weapon used by the Stoneman Douglas shooter. However, let's go back to Columbine. When I was in school. Okay, I was only probably about elementary. Those kids had no AR-15, had Tech 9, 2 shotguns, 99 explosives, and 4 knives. Explosives are totally illegal. Sawed-off shotgun time is totally illegal. But you know what? They had it. So what did your law prove? Not to do a goddamn thing. The only thing that'll stop mass shootings is if this is right, and if the FBI, local authorities, and school authorities, if they get a tip, actually act. Actually do something about it. Don't just sit on your asses. Okay? That's my problem with this. You're attacking the NRA. There's groups out there attacking JROTC because he learned how to fire the AR-15 in a JROTC program. It's funded by the NRA. The NRA gave them a grant. So now they want to attack JROTC. Although if you look at the amount of people that were shooters in JROTC, it's like, I think he's the only fucking one. Like the number of mass shooters that are NRC or JROTC or former armed, JROTC, it's like so low, it's fucking pitiful. But they already want to attack JROTC. They demilitarize their schools. You guys' message is stupid. You don't know how to handle it properly. And then I find it ironic, as the words are going around, that these kids are saying our, how do they put it? Our rights are being violated because we have to have clear backpacks. Well, you're wanting to violate the rights of every gun-owning American in the U.S. that has not committed a crime. So you know what? I don't care. When you want to come to the talking table and be realistic and not sit there and spread your false NRA narrative that, oh, if you're an NRA member, you want children dead. When you can stop your lies and actually come and have a sensible conversation, well, listen, I'm an NRA member. I have no problem with certain gun restrictions being put in. Like one, if you're being seen by a shrink and something else happens, like you start saying stuff to the shrink and he don't feel you're comfortable owning the gun no more and he find out he can red flag you and your gun is temporarily seized until you go to court by local authorities. That I have no problem with because there's still a due process, but it's still security. Okay, what I don't have an okay with is a determination by psychology if you can own a gun or not. Because here's my problem. Political biased. That word right there. Political biased. And the proof of political bias in the psychological community existing is what happened with Trump. After Trump got in office, a bunch of psychologists broke the Goldwater rule and started to try and diagnose him without face-to-face contact. Without and they were pushing their political agenda. Not all psychologists agreed with them, but a group did this. How they're featured on Now This, they're featured on Fox News, they're featured on alternative and mainstream media both, saying that this is what they're doing. And they even made their own commercials. So the point is, there's political bias even in psychologists. So no, I don't want to pretest because I don't trust their political views to protect my rights. Because if I'm sane in the head, I should not have some guy just because he don't like guns tell me I shouldn't be able to own a gun. No. I mean, if you want to do the pre-tests, you better come up with a test. A straight test that these psychologists have to go by. Straight standards that they cannot, that there's no way in head they're political. They have to record you, and then they have to have oversight by federal government. Basically, the feds will have to oversight them. If they catch the psychologists being biased, the psychologists lose all their license and their livelihood. That's my only way, because then they'll keep them straight. That's the only way I'll go with that. Now, on the licensing issue, where people say you should have a license like you have a car. People that do concealed carry have a concealed carry license. Okay, that's already there on the books. You can't sit there, though, and require a license for a constitutional right. A car driving is not a constitutional right. It's a privilege because it was never in the Constitution. That's where the big difference is. You see, all these people for the Never Again movement won't tell you this stuff. They will hide it. They won't want to talk about it. They don't view it as important. But although the foundation of our country is important to people that care about this country. Yes, there's been mistakes. But no, not everything we have made is a mistake. Okay? The part about the original Constitution where a black man or woman was only like 1/3 a person, no, that was wrong from day one. I will give you that one. That was wrong from day one. Okay, I'm glad that one got changed. Although I'm a Confederate supporter, I'm glad that one got changed. And, you know, I mean, that's the other thing. There's so much brainwash in the liberal school system that unless you grew up in the South, you have no clue. You take a few documents and you put it into this mass, but everybody has this racist mentality. I mean, I don't understand people. How can you generalize so much, push for so much, but then when something starts to happen to you, it will show it's exactly the same thing, just a different subject, you freak out. You tell me. But no, I get it that you lost 17 people at your high school. I get it. But you know what? I've lost friends to drunken driving, underage. I've lost friends to self-inflicted wounds of guns, but because they couldn't be with a girl they were really in love with. It was a suicide for love. It was a Romeo and Juliet type thing, but only he killed himself. I've had friends killed by ATVs, cars, boats, planes, you name it. Death is a part of life. Yes, these children did not deserve to die this way at this age. But I can't blame the NRA. I can't blame American gun owners. I can't blame my brother in NRA. I can't do it. Because the fact of it is, if you go through the articles that have been put out there in public, they're in public domain, about how this person tipped off the FBI, this person tipped off BSO, this person tipped off the school, all the way down the line, and nobody acted. Nobody, not a soul, acted out to get this man's gun removed or make him sure he was saying not plotting an attack. Nobody really looked into it enough. And then on the day of the shooting, you have 4 BSO officers standing outside the freaking building doing nothing. Nothing about it. Just standing there because they don't have a body cam. Fuck your body cam. People's lives are more important than the body cam. Then, a few days ago, we had a shooting in Maryland. Handgun. No AR-15. They don't like talking about that because the school resource officer ended that with 2 injured, none dead. 0 dead. 2 injured, 1 dead. The 1 dead is the shooter. So I don't count him as a victim. So yes, one is dead. That is the shooter. Okay. But victims, 0 dead. They said he was trigger happy. So let me get this straight. Over here, you have 4 officers that didn't do their job, but you want to blame the NRA and take all our guns. But this guy stood up and protected the students, and you want to say he's trigger happy. You guys can't be both sides of the argument, but that's what you're doing. When a good guy stops a bad guy with a gun, you want to call him trigger happy. But then when you fucking sit there and have 4 BSO officers stand outside and 17 get killed, then you want to say, oh, well, now we got to take everybody's guns. Forget you. Go back to history class. Pay attention in history class. That's what it needs to be. Pay attention in history class. I like to see these students' history class grades. I bet they ain't got, none of them got a straight A. None of them. I bet if you put us in a room, I could outsmart them in 4 seconds. I grew up rebuilding World War II aircraft. I grew up mantling and dismantling firearms. I grew up working on ranches. I grew up working with disabled children and adults. That's right. This man here telling you you are wrong has worked with children disabled to help them get back their strength. I did that most of my life. Okay? Most of my young life. From the age of 8 to freaking 22, I was working with disabled children. Disabled children and adults. Every freaking Saturday. They went to 2 or 3 times a week. Okay? I was a JROTC member. You know what kept me out of the military? 10 pounds. All of you want to sit there and criticize the Second Amendment, you're messed up. And also, I'm going to tell you right now, all of you say you don't need a long gun, an AR-15 protected property, you all must be living in little apartments like in Manhattan. Because you know what? When you go down south, the south that you all hate, we have acreage. You know, I live right now on 3 acres. I grew up on 2-acre lot. A pistol ain't gonna do it in that situation. Okay? People can shoot at you from afar and open, and you need accuracy at range. Okay? You need the penetration at range. I understand if you're in like an apartment building, you need a 9mm, low velocity bullets just enough to hit somebody at close range for defense. That's reasonable. Or shotgun. Reasonable. But to sit there and say no one needs an AR-15, there's no use for it, and I'm giving you a use right there, and then not even mention it, you're wrong to do it. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you guys all on the coast and everything, you forget about Middle America. I grew up in South Florida. I grew up in Broward County. Where stolen dollars happen, that's my home county. Okay? But I've also lived in little hick towns in Kentucky. Alright? I've lived in both worlds. The country and the big city. And I know the differences. You see, that's the thing. Unless you know the differences in geography, situational awareness, you know nothing. And JRTC, by the way, the shooting program is extracurricular of the extracurricular. Because JRTC, I remember, which I still got a book from it, right over on that shelf. Leadership application. They teach leadership, first aid, they teach map reading, choreography, physical training, physical fitness. Alright? And they try to shape you to be an outstanding citizen. They also teach you citizenship application. They do teach you some mathematics in the sense of checkbook keeping stuff. But the point is, a lot of JRTC units have a lot of camaraderie. Those are students that stick together because they have a higher grade usually of morals and higher grade of self-respect than the normal students. And the normal students, a lot of times, like when I went to JRTC at Cypress Bay High School, we were all called pickles. I didn't care. Because I took the extra time. They made sure that uniform was ironed. My gig line was straight. My medals were straight. Everything was straight. And I wore that uniform gladly every Wednesday. Every Friday I did my physical training. I was a part of the drill team, armed and unarmed. Now, before you get into that, armed drill team used rifles, real M1 Grants, that had lead poured down the barrels, so they were inoperable. Just to clarify that. What's that, Patches? My roommate just came in. My doggy went, hmm? Give me a patch. Hold on, guys. This is my Rugrat, my little fur baby. I'm Patch. You gonna sleep on me? Is that all you gonna do? Sit up. Say hi to the camera. But no, I mean, straight up, I just don't get it. You all are not only attacking guns, you're attacking people. And when you stop attacking people and actually want to sit down and have a conversation, the never again movement, you have a chance. But you can't push unlogical reform. You can't blame people and falsely accuse them of being murderers and expect people to take you serious. They're on the other side. You can't. Because you're demonizing. That's all you're doing is demonizing. And when you stop demonizing and know how to have a conversation, that's when a lot of our ears will open. That's my advice to both sides. And my advice right now, NRA, fire back. Let's have a march against their march, saying that we want the reform, but not in the way they're doing it. Farewell, and good night.